right? And
Can you mute that? Because I'm hearing it.
oh yes, it's hard to think, huh?
Yeah.
um. So the whole time we were talking, it was about how I was comparing Hobson's 7 to his situation because he recently, uh, what would you call it? Fell out of Christianity.
Nah, I mean, I wouldn't call it falling out of. That's why I said, like, okay, his situation, what Hobson is describing there is a certain like grievance that a lot of people have against the church.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
the fact that it's a
do I
man.
have to put this on?
No.
All right, cool, cool. I thought I had to keep it on. So he's describing the grievances that he has against the quote unquote church, and just judging from that song and from some of the other conversations that he's had, like interviews, the grievance is more so an emotional one, and
Yeah,
it's
personal.
valid. It's more personal.
Mhm.
From the jump, to me, it's all about fact. It's been about history.
Yeah.
It's been about what the Bible says. I guess to many, I'm still considered a fundamentalist in the sense that I do believe that the scriptures are divine. That there is an aspect to them that is both esoteric and it speaks to the future and other things that a lot of people wouldn't consider to be fact. So I still adhere to those concepts. So you can't really say that. I mean, I can't really say that I fell away from quote unquote Christianity. I, from the beginning, was not indoctrinated into a church setting. I didn't go to like a retreat and had like a preacher say something crazy to me. It was more depth. There was more depth to it. It was more experience to it. There was an inspiration that ancient peoples have had with this writing for millennia. So it was never religion. So when I began to just break down the history of Christianity, I don't coincide with it. I don't believe that it is righteous. I don't believe that it is true, and I also don't believe that it's what I read in the Bible. Like there's a section of the Bible that's forbidden for most churches to read, and that's the Apocrypha. And if you read the Apocrypha, you will actually see that in the book of Maccabees, it talks about this revolt of the Israelites against their oppressors. So you had this situation where um, people actually came, subjugated the Israelites, and an army rose up to fight against that oppression. Mm-hmm. Okay, which today in the evangelical community is, it's a thought that's forbidden because according to specific verses that they take out of context, you are not allowed to rebel or revolt against government. You're supposed to be subservient to it.
That's
and now
the
you
same
see,
as Islamic.
well, no. See, Islam wants to establish its own theocracy. It's a little bit different with if you adhere to the Abrahamic faiths like Christianity or being Jewish, quote unquote. So in that respect, it's different. But you have a situation in America where you have American evangelicalism, and I call it the American evangelical complex because that's really what gears a lot of the decision making of this country, a lot of the ways that they do their politics, how they view different things that they impose on the people, and that's kind of the religion you have now. So it's kind of in a lot of ways a merger of state and church because a lot of people wave the American flag in their churches, so they have allegiance to statism in a lot of ways, and that's one aspect about American Christianity that I don't adhere to. I don't believe in allegiance to the state. Also, too, just their views on Israel. The American evangelical community supports Israel, the current state of Israel, which I do not support. Their teachings about hell, quote unquote, saying that after you die, you're going to go to an invisible place of eternal torture. I don't believe that. And what's weird is I don't even the Bible that they read to cite that doesn't even teach that. You know what I mean? If you follow that doctrine, it actually came after a series of
Same as suicide.
What do you mean?
Suicide isn't in the Bible.
Oh, you mean like if you commit suicide, you're gonna go to hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not in the Bible
Wasn't
either.
in the Bible.
So a lot of these concepts that people want to dog the Bible for or speak against the ancient writings of these prophets and apostles aren't actually even in there. So really, what you're up against, or a lot of people rebel against, isn't even biblical Christianity, true biblical.
It's man.
It's man-made traditions and dogmas.
Yeah.
And consequently, that's the main thing that Jesus actually spoke against when he was here on earth. So he was a revolutionary figure that would have freed people from, more so physical tyranny, but tyranny of thought. Why are you making weird faces while I'm saying supremely philosophical?
Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just plugging. I'm just plugging. Smile Direct Club. There's a link in the bio.
So that's one of the things that he would have accomplished while he was there in that sphere of influence that he had in that area of time and of history. So so no, it's not. I didn't. It's not like I backed away from it so much. It's more historical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more of a historical perspective. European Christianity was meant to
More
enslave.
factual. It's more like there's a physical track record that you can follow.
Yeah,
so
I mean that's
it's something you can actually trust. Because, this happened for real.
Yeah, and and this isn't to dog Christianity, man. They're very sincere people, and filling up those pews.
Yeah.
Some of them are very sincere, but the ecology or the community of Christianity is not scholarly at all. There is not an emphasis on research, on critical thinking, on history, on analysis.
I saw a preacher talk about the protein that connects every cell in our body.
Oh no!
It's like the God.
That's what.
That sounds like I didn't even know that.
That's my point, though. The leaders, some quote unquote, are the philosophers. They make the dogma for everyone else, but the culture of the people listening to them isn't one of being studious. Not at all, because it's not a prerequisite. You could join any church, and there isn't a test on what you believe. If you truly do believe the doctrines that are right and true, can you defend them? Do you know what you're talking about? That expectation isn't there. It's more based on sensationalism and excitement, and to make people feel guilty continuously for what they do.
For inherent human nature.
Yeah,
for something that we don't choose.
Correct.
It's just us.
And to constantly forewarn you in a condemning, repressive way about if you allow your own instincts or your own nature to overcome you, you're going to
be your driving force.
Yeah, you're not only going to suffer in this life, you're going to suffer in the next life, and unless you pay some type of penance, whether through your tears or you feeling guilty or you professing that you believe that the doctrine is true by denouncing yourself.
Yeah,
it's a form of mind control.
That was my biggest peeve with the idea of the religion. You have to get rid of it's selflessness, and it's selflessness to a deity that does not exist. Right. Not saying that there is no creator. Not saying that there's scenarios that are possible.
Right.
But to us, physically, in reality, he does not exist. He might be a driving feeling within us that creates a positive force, but he is not a physical being. He's not a physical being. You know?
Yeah.
My mom. That's all. Don't worry about it.
The esoteric nature of
what the fuck
God,
does that mean?
Esoteric is above the surface.
Okay. So it's the deeper meaning.
It's a deeper meaning.
Above the surface, but deeper.
Exactly. Yeah. It's also metaphorical. It's just a hidden meaning of something.
Metaphorical.
Metaphorical isn't so much.
We're getting the lexicon is deep tonight, dog.
It's not so much
Take
metaphorical.
Notes,
it's just above the surface. It's a more hidden concept.
Yeah.
So there could be a literal meaning, and then there's an esoteric meaning to it. The Bible is filled with allegory.
Yes.
It's extremely allegorical.
You have to decode.
There is some decoding
you have
to do.
Decode. There's no you can't take the Bible literal. You can't take what they're saying literal because my nose hair bugging me.
I wouldn't say that you're not supposed to take the Bible literal, because there's a concept that says that Abraham, the one which is basically the forefather of all the Abrahamic religions, even including in a lot of ways Islam. A lot of people don't know this, but a lot of Islam is actually directly based on the teachings both of Christianity and of the Judean faith, Judaism. So they're all interrelated.
Islam is like the extreme right wing.
Yeah, well,
It's like the extreme right. Like
so,
Christianity is the extreme left wing.
yeah. So the patriarch of
That's
Islam
funny.
is Ishmael. So Ishmael is said to be the father of the Arabs. He's the one where the family
Where does
of
Muhammad come in?
Ishmaelites. Muhammad is a figure that came 600 and some years after Christ.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Christ came on the scene, and
So
in that
who's
area,
Ishmael?
going back to the
So
Abraham thing.
so this is based in Abrahamic times.
So
Okay, so this is pre fucking
Jesus.
Yeah,
This
okay.
is 2,000 plus years before Christ.
So this is the beginning of time
The
type
beginning,
shit.
yeah, exactly.
The first generations and shit.
Yeah, some of the first generations.
Okay.
So
All
you
right.
had Abraham, which is the forefather or the patriarch of Christianity, of Judaism, of Islam. Not
he's
humanity.
He's the first swinging dick. That's what he was. He was like, he was Johnny Appleseed, bitch.
He was the forefather of all the what they call Abrahamic religions, and he's a very important figure.
He would be.
He's not the forefather of humanity.
What's that fucking?
It's Noah.
Zeus's father.
The way that the story goes is Noah had Shem, Japheth, and Ham. Abraham comes from the line of Shem, which is one of Noah's 3 sons. Abraham is someone that came from the line of Shem, which is the son of Abraham being a son of Eber, who is a son of Shem. So that word, when you hear Semitism, you hear the word, being anti-Semite. What the root of that is Shem. So in order for you to be considered an Israelite or to be considered of the line of Abraham, you have to also come from the direct line of Shem. Okay, so when somebody says Semite, it's a Shemite. You come from Shem. So Abraham.
Jews?
So Jews. So I'll break it down for you the way that it is. Abraham had Isaac. Okay, Isaac is supposed to be the seed or the child of promise within Judaism and Christianity.
Okay.
Ishmael was his other son, who was not the seed of
That's
promise.
my Mexican neighbor.
Who Ishmael's supposed to be the father of the Arabs.
Okay.
Isaac was chosen as the one who was going to get the inheritance from Abraham. Isaac had Jacob. Jacob's name was changed into Israel. This is where you get Israel from. Israel, or Jacob, had 12 sons. Each one of those sons represents a tribe of Israel. And that's where you get Israel from. So these are literal families. These are actual
So it's just
lineages.
it's just this whole thing is just like a family feud.
Well, all of humanity is a family feud. If you really trace history, it's specific families that formed nations, interbred with themselves, and then had war with one another. The interesting thing about that, though, is that if you follow ancient history, the Bible is the main book where you can get the history of different families and who they were from. That's chronicled. A lot of people try to say, for instance, that one of those families, the Hittites, for instance, never existed. So therefore, the Bible is true, but it's also, it's myth and fairy tale. Well, they unearthed areas of earth that had documentation that proved that the Hittites actually did exist. So the Bible chronicles the history of families of the world, of nations. Okay, each of those nations comprised of different families. So once you break that down, Israel was a prominent family of
like the Rockefellers.
Yeah, it was a bloodline. Exactly like the Rockefellers. See, people don't think this exists.
No, that's real.
This is what runs the world.
You just got to decode it, man.
You just got to decode it. And it exists today. Those same families that existed back then.
So 2,000 years from now, the Rockefellers are going to be talked about like the fucking Israelites.
Exactly.
Holy shit!
Yeah, exactly.
The deeps. This shit just got deep, man.
No, exactly. I'll take you back. I'll take you back further. So
can I smoke some more weed?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm sorry, I'm getting way too excited. I get cringy when I get excited.
So if you take these families back, let's break down the current Zionist family, the families that run a lot of the infrastructure for currency of the world. The families that were actually given the land of Israel today. Where did the land of Israel, as we know it today, come from?
Middle East.
Well, yeah, but how did that nation form? Before 1948,
I don't know shit. I don't know
Okay.
shit about the history of that shit.
Okay, so Israel. We talk about today. Israel's in politics all the time. Everyone's always talking about Israel, right?
Is it okay? Hold up. Is it because of the history of Israel and the story and the fact that maybe Israel got taken over and maybe the fact that Trump said that that's going to be the whatever Israel and
So
maybe that he's reinforcing the Bible in that aspect.
so the story is that, of course, we talked about Israel. We talked about the 12 sons of Jacob or Israel, and how that nation or family, that bloodline formed, and it formed from Abraham and so on, coming back from Shem. The story is that that land, historically speaking, pertains to a family of people. Okay, and those are the Israelites. The current people in that land who claim to call themselves Jews claim that they are of that family.
Uh-huh.
That's the claim, and that's why the land was supposedly given to them, because that land belonged to them. And
so then it became Israel.
yeah,
at that
and
point.
based on the World War II grievances that
Uh-huh.
they had and what the
So
they
because of the
endured,
Holocaust, they essentially
they
got
get a
Israel.
home.
They
and
get a
their
country of their
ancient
own.
home back. That's the story. But let's break that down
I
further.
mean, it's not that bad of a deal, right?
Okay, but let's break that down
Okay.
further.
Yeah. Okay.
Who are the so-called Jews in the state of Israel? Right? Who are they? Where do they come from?
No clue.
So the majority of them came from Eastern Europe, mainly Poland.
Okay, so
Tucked in between that and Russia, that area there is what the mass of
so they essentially migrated,
quote unquote Jewish people came from.
Because essentially, in Judaism, don't they eventually have to make a what's that called? A pilgrimage back to the homeland.
Yeah.
So weren't they doing that
under
was they doing that?
The law, you had to
that?
go back to Jerusalem to keep the feast.
Okay, so Jerusalem is Israel.
Jerusalem is a city within the bounds of what was ancient Israel. Yes.
So that's the whole beef between Jerusalem and like Palestine, right? Over the claim of Israel.
So Jerusalem is in Palestine.
Yeah, and so when Trump said Jerusalem was the capital of Palestine, that was the beef with, I mean, Israel, not Palestine.
What? Okay, so let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I explain how this.
I want to see how this links. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up so you can connect the dots.
So going back to families, going back to who these people that occupied that land are.
Yeah.
Now, if they do have an ancient tie, genealogically speaking, back to their, the Israelites, and if they are from that land, then they do have some type of valid point to say that that land may or may not belong to them, right?
Yeah.
But who are those people? Like I already described, they came from a place in Eastern Europe, tucked in between Poland, going to Russia, that whole area there, those people classically were from.
Yeah.
And they refer to themselves as the Ashkenazi people. So they are known historically as Ashkenazis. Ashkenazis from Europe. They were ancient people that were nomadic in Europe. Those were what comprised the bulk of all the so-called Jews of the world. About 70 to 80% of who we call Jews, what you see on TV, Ben Stiller, all these other Jewish people.
Somebody feed
everybody.
Film? Oh my God, that sounds great.
What's that funny guy? Ari Shafir.
Oh yeah, Ari Shafir.
He's an Ashkenazi Jew. All those guys, they're Ashkenazis. Who are they? So the Ashkenaz, if you go back to the Bible, Ashkenaz was actually a son of Japheth. This is an ancient family. Japheth is not the chosen line, though. Okay. So if you are a son of Japheth, you cannot be a son of Shem.
Okay. So it's like your cousins trying to take the family inheritance. It's like
exactly.
Oh man,
that's exactly what's going on there.
Oh.
Ashkenaz,
family. It's always family.
Was a son of Japheth. Again, you have to be a son of Shem, number one, for you to be considered a Semite, and that's why Arabs are Semites. They're true Semites. They are a son of Abraham. The Arabic race it came from Abraham, so they are technically Semites. So whenever you talk about Jewish people and they try to say anti-Semitism, hit them with facts and history. First of all, Ashkenaz was the son of Japheth, not of Shem, so you cannot be a Semite. Now let's go back. There's 5 specific studies and that have proven that the people in Israel are not genetically tied to the ancient Israelites of that land. that have no tie to them, that they are Caucasian from the Asian Caucasus Mountains and also date back to ancient Rome. So these are Caucasian,
So I would say that's like those
European
the
ancient
pretty Jews,
peoples.
right? Pretty Jews.
Well, the
The
main
ones that
Jews
don't
that
look like Jews.
everybody calls Jews, the dudes
Or the
with
ones with big
with the
noses?
hair and the big noses, yeah, them.
Oh, those are the legit Jews?
No, those are not the
Those are
legit Jews. Those are the
oh,
Ashkenazis,
okay.
the ones that
The one they
are
call Hasidic?
so they have Hasidic. That's a branch within Judaism. So if you are of the Hasidic, that's a more orthodox faith, and it is a different families of people, but they all fall under the line of that Ashkenaz Jew.
Ashkenaz? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's Ashkenazi and
So
there's
who?
Sephardic. Sephardic is the other line that claims to be Jewish.
We're gonna call this
well.
episode "Who's the Real Jew?" Who the fuck are the real Jews?
I did not intend to turn the show into a talk about Israel specifically, but
Hey.
that is one of the main reasons I parted ways with my old church, because they are see, the evangelical, what I call the American evangelical complex, is big on supporting the current state of Israel. And what I consider that is an occupation. I consider that to be something illegal, and I don't consider it to be something that is biblical at all. So that's where I defer with them. And going back historically speaking, in 1917, there was a declaration given by Britain, by the UK, given to Lord Rothschild. Okay. And in this declaration, the current state of Israel and the borders surrounding were given, were supposed to be given to the Zionist people. So when you talk about Zionism, Zionism is the collective agenda of the quote-unquote Jewish people to form their own state, which they've already done, and to announce themselves as a great nation. It's a cause that they have been in for a long time. And in 1917, that declaration was given to Lord Rothschild, who himself is a so-called Jew, to own that land. So let's go back now in history. This nation of Israel formed in 1948. That's when it formed. So this declaration, though, was given in 1917, far, decades before 1948, and they were going to be the owners of that land. Isn't it coincidence that those same people just so happened to endure something called the Holocaust, which gave actually more legitimacy to that claim to give them that land so that the whole world wouldn't fight against it?
So holy fuck, that's dark.
Have you studied the Holocaust?
No, I don't study dark shit.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's.
I like to keep my spirits high.
What we've been fed is a lot darker than what actually
I know.
happened. So
it gets depressing, man.
No. It's what they fed us is more depressing than what actually I believe happened. So I don't know if what you call it, we've been told the whole truth about the Holocaust. I think a lot of it has been embellished. So it's just something to study. A lot of people don't want to question that simply because we've been fed from the time that we were little that we had to sympathize with the Jewish genocide. But at the same time, they will not tell you about the Armenian genocide that happened in 1914.
Oh, yeah.
At the same time, you were not taught in schools about the genocide that occurred here when the Spanish came to the Americas, or when the Protestants came to the Americas and butchered dozens of millions of Native Americans. So it's pick and choose history with them. And because of that, that lets you know that they have an agenda in the way that they've indoctrinated us. Yeah. So I believe that to have Jewish sympathies is okay, but give me facts so I can sympathize with. Don't feed me propaganda. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm coming from with some of these disagreements that I have with American Christianity.
Okay, now my argument is, now the history behind it sucks, but what it can do for someone, you can't ignore that. The positivity it can bring, the morality that it can give someone, guidance at some points. Yeah, although it's based in shit, I do believe something good did come out of it, even if it is just a really good book. Right. You know, I think that it's important for society to have something like that for essentially the people that would be a societal nuisance without it. You know, someone like, say, me, cut loose at 14 with no real guidance and just followed every natural, inherent human instinct I had.
So you're talking about like it serves its purpose
In a society.
in a society. Okay, so there's an ancient saying that religion is the opiate of the masses, right? So that's kind of, you're saying that the masses need an opiate,
I do believe some do.
and people that are social engineers that
Yeah. Take advantage of that.
yeah, they
Yeah.
do for sure, and they can manipulate in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is that it's not that I'm even going to make the claim, oh, this is good for you, and it serves its purpose. It's not real. It's not true. It's not based on
Of course
fact.
it's not.
What is fact and what is true, it's going to serve its purpose in helping you. Because if what Christ said is true, that you shall know the truth, and the truth is what sets you free, what makes you free, then truth is the highest virtue that there is to be had. Period.
Okay, I
So
agree with that.
so if something is based on lies, then that it doesn't have a true foundation, and it's going to topple over. And this is kind of what we're seeing now with the new generation.
What if someone like us that can decode, that can read something and call the bullshit of the story, but still pull away the good from it? You know, understanding like the allegories and the metaphors.
Yeah.
And
Well,
scenarios.
that's my stance. I don't believe I believe the Bible to be legitimate, but but the way that it's been taught doctrinally, because you got to understand,
just the fact that the humans are behind it and mankind has manipulated it in their favor.
Going back to my point about Christianity having doctrines and prerequisites of thought, or doctrines that you have to believe this, and this for you to call yourself a Christian.
Yeah.
Type of thing. That it's all based upon ecumenical councils that were decided upon for you and I today.
The fuck does that mean, ecumenical?
Ecumenical just means together. It's ecumenism means a unity, a oneness.
Yeah. Okay, I got that.
Yeah. So it's a oneness of councils. So a council of all the different, I guess, denominations that existed at that time, Orthodox and Roman Catholicism, different teachers like that would get together. After the third century, it was just mainly the Roman Catholic Church, because the ancient Orthodox faith, it broke away from Roman Catholicism. So after that, it was just Roman Catholics coming together, having these councils where they decided what doctrines were going to be, and what doctrines were going to be considered heretical.
Yeah.
So they did this thing.
There's a lot of teachings in there that are contradictory, huh?
Correct, to the Bible, but unless you adhere to them, like this thing about hell, a lot of it was used in connection to purgatory. Okay. So you would be told that your loved one was suffering in the afterlife, and that you can give indulgences, and you can give money or some type of whatever else to relieve their suffering in the afterlife. So you were sold on this concept of afterlife and of suffering in order for you to do something. So they would manipulate you with that story. Yeah. Same thing's done today. They manipulate them all the time with this thing about hell and this thing about heaven. When the Bible, if you read what the ancient Hebrew people believed, the ancient Israelites believed about prophecy, heaven wasn't going to be in some weird dimension somewhere. There was going to be heaven on earth.
On earth.
That literal kingdoms and powers like Rome were going to be displaced and replaced with new righteous government. That it was always the struggle to fight against tyranny. Again, going back to the Apocrypha, the book of Maccabees was all about a people rising up against oppression. You read the Old Testament, it always talks about lift up your voice on behalf of those that don't have a voice. Speak on behalf of those who are oppressed. It was always a virtue of Israel and its leadership that it was kind to its people. Yeah. It was kind to strangers. If you came from another nation, it could be kind of a sanctuary nation. You just had to follow the laws and regulations. They didn't want no bullshit. They didn't want you being a cheater. You're cheating on your wife and stuff, and yeah, you would get killed for those things, because those were
that's in those times that can really disrupt a society. A family
not just in those times, and today it disrupts society. So here you are given,
it's on a massive scale.
Yeah, here you are given one life, and if that is what you want to do with humanity, you're going to destroy. We're not going to have that. So that's why they had the peace that they had and the prosperity that they had.
Yes, that's.
And if he is the creator, he gets to decide who is allowed to be in a system that he creates, and he's trying to make something of it. So as far as the killing off people, I don't find that a problem. If I created a program, I get to decide who's in it and who's not. Now, if the person deciding that decision, because we always say, who decides who lives? Is it a doctor? Is it the state? Is it you? Is it me? If someone's on life support, who makes that decision? The person to make that decision has to be the most suitable and the most unbiased and the most fair to make that decision. If God is just, and if he is fair, and if he is all those things, then he is the only one who can decide who lives and who doesn't. Now, if he decides to wipe out a group of 200 people, then he knows his reasons. I don't have an issue with that. See, I'm not one of those that's like, oh my gosh.
There's a bigger picture.
Yeah, there's a bigger picture to it, that your and I's mind, our finite ways of thinking,
our feelings, our emotions,
exactly fully ascertain. So, I'm not one of these quote unquote snowflakes that's like, oh, the Bible is mean, this and that. No, there's reality. There are people that gotta go. It's just the reality of this.
It really is,
of this nature, man.
There are some people you're just like, God.
They just gotta go, man. They gotta.
Do not. What's it called? Replicate.
I'm talking about more in an evil, truly, deeply narcissistic. Those people.
Like they have very. I have a theory on this. I have a theory on soul. I have a theory. I think it's genetic. I think it's from the time of barbarism when fucking like Genghis Khan and the conquistadors. Those type of men, that mentality, the morality that they held, I do believe that shit is inherent in genes, because you do need to unlock stuff in your brain in order to be that type of person. So if you have generations of conquerors, generations of fucking soldiers just cutting and stabbing and raping, it's got to pass on genetically. And I have the same idea with sluts.
Being a slut?
I think some females genetically are just sluts, because of their history. Maybe back in, I think, like in Rome, when they had sex slaves.
See, I think with those two traits, there's too much variation for it to be more solidified. You know what I mean?
That's why it's not everybody.
Demeanor but no, you're right. In a lot of ways, it's a trick, because in the ancient writings, like the Hebrew people believe that every nation was patterned after some type of characteristics.
It's a behavior trait.
Yeah, exactly. So
and
the Canaanites.
This got deep. So each behavioral trait might have been the behavioral trait of our very first ancestors.
Yeah, for sure. So that has a lot to do with it, for sure.
So maybe that's why inherently some people don't like me. Inherently, I don't like some people. Like you see them and you're just you automatically just get a bad vibe. Maybe it's like a deep genetic thing on our fucking ancestors.
We are all, okay, this is what we got to understand. Just like in the animal kingdom, there are different species, and they're different. And even if you have the same subspecies, each one of those is different.
Yes, there's always a variation.
So when we talk about race and things, we are very different. Our races are different. Where we come from, how we are, a lot
sometimes
of it has
culturally,
to do
and
there's different what's the
genetic
word
variations.
Yeah, there's different variations. There's different I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but there's different ways to look at it. As far as if you break it down, are we similar by race, by ethnicity, by mentality, by political views? In those types of ways, we do relate. Yeah. But there's a more inner characteristic that makes us up. That is by family, by bloodline, and so on. Not to say that we use those things to be thinking that we're better than other people, like what we call racism, right? But it's a reality. It's a
what would you call that within a family? When you think you're better than someone in your family?
When you think you're better than someone in your family? Envy?
Or what would you, like, say you have your cousins, your aunts, and like, how some Mexicans are like that. They're very judgmental. They come over and you got to make sure everything's the best, everything's the cleanest, nothing's dirty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you gotta everything's gotta look pristine so that they don't judge you.
I think that has to do with a lot of insecurity within the Hispanic, specifically, and I speak specifically about Mexicans.
Yeah.
I know I don't even generally use the word Hispanic, but that's one thing, because here in America, when we get here, we start getting things on credit. We get a nice TV, a 72-inch or whatever.
No work ethic.
And no, not even so much that.
I call it no work ethic.
We start stunting.
There's this idea that
we get a new truck, we get a this and that.
But we don't earn it. We don't earn it. We don't pay our hard-earned for it.
Yeah.
We borrow and then pay it back in payments.
In Mexican culture, it's a shame to be lazy.
Yeah.
Or anyone that if you're a mooch, if you're a mooch, if you
have no honor, you have no
people, you have no honor.
It's look, I attribute it to this. I compare it to owning my pig. Okay, now pigs. I understand why they get abused. I understand why they get fucked up at the fucking slaughterhouses. They give off and exhibit the most pathetic and gross parts of human nature. And like when I see it, instinctively I just go, I want to be. I turn into a bully.
Because
Like
they're just wretched. Like
it's just like you
nasty.
pathetic waste of life. Like it's just like I feel it. I'm intelligent enough to overcome it. I recognize it and I acknowledge the behavior pattern. But I do believe that that is like this inherent genetic thing. Like for if a person is constantly exhibiting those fucking personality traits, they need to die. They don't need to breed. They don't need to pass on their genetics because we don't need people like that. We can't survive if you know what I mean. That's
Yeah, I
why
mean,
that's why we go towards like masculinity. Females want a strong fucking whatever guy instinctively. A man wants a girl with like big hips, big breasts because they can bear children. These are all like deep shits. And it's possible that it's all connected, bro.
connect. Okay, I'm trying to get the connection now. When you
I
went off
think
into
this is what I think.
okay, certain types of people, but
Yeah.
but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Those types of realities are what
You want me
many
to go
people.
deeper?
Yeah, go deeper, go deeper.
I think okay, so according to Edgar Casey, our souls are a piece of God. And when we die and we fulfill our purpose, our souls return to God. This is what I think. God split his soul up into the first people, right? And then his soul kept dividing, his soul kept dividing. The different aspects of him manifest in each individual, right? And maybe the anger towards the pathetic nature is like a self-loathing characteristic of God, where it's like, I'm God. I'm fucking great. What are you doing? You have the exact same potential as me. Because you like God is us and we are him. He made us in his image. Let's get deep. What if we are God's horcruxes?
Like,
What if we are God's horcruxes?
what's a horcrux?
Horcrux in Harry Potter and mythology is when you break up your soul and put it in objects so that you can live for an eternity. Damn!
Well, I guess the miracle of the creation, according to the ancient Hebrew people, was that God had created an entity that was autonomous and apart from Him, but at the same time sustained by Him, by His breath.
My fucking mind is going, dude. We're getting deep.
Well, I mean,
that's tight.
That's
Maybe we all know this.
I think a lot of the things that are real as far as spirituality goes are more known intuitively than actually processed via data. So like, when a lot of times when I've gotten quote unquote enlightenment by reading the scriptures, it's actually been things that I already knew to be true. And when there was a confirmation in these ancient writings, it was like beautiful because it was something that my soul, my intuition, my God-given intuition has told me was what it was from the beginning. So a lot of times when you read the Bible, if you're truly reading in the spirit of sincerity and gratitude towards the Creator, you will have this deja vu experience where it's like I've known this all along, and it was like I forgot to ride this bike.
Yeah.
And now that you ride it,
it's like something in your. It's like a room got unlocked. It's like a room in the house that you knew was there, but you didn't really ever care about. You go in there and you're like, oh damn, there's a gun in here.
And here's the thing, and this is why I've honed my relationship with Yah, the Most High, the Creator,
Yahweh.
And I say Yah because that's the more ancient way to say what we know as the Tetragrammaton, which is YHWH in the ancient Hebrew. So it's a very ancient way to say it, and I think the more appropriate than to say Jah, because Jah is a more modern concoction with the J. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That is the beauty of actually reading ancient scripture. And what a lot of people, especially Christians, miss out on because they don't do that. What they do is instead is they mull over the words of the preacher constantly, and they let that be their vitality in life.
They listen to his philosophy.
Yeah, but when you do that, what you're doing is you're eating food that's already been processed and chewed. So what you need is your own food.
You're eating shit.
Yeah. So exactly my point. You're eating processed food, and it's not good. It's not real. So what you need to is to be taught how to get your own food. In Revelations, the Most High said He wants to sup with us. To sup is to have supper, to dine with, to have
That was
intimacy.
that was slang back in the day.
Yeah,
that was slang. What's up, dog? You want sup?
You're a fool. What's up? You want to sup?
Hey, oh, how would they say it? Ishmael, thou sup? Thou sup?
You're a fool. No, but for real, that's what the whole point is that we learn how to fast, how to pray.
Fasting is so important for our body, dude. So crucial. And I give this I feel like the reason why I've lost so much weight and I've gotten so healthy and even mentally healthy is because I believe that we do have an ancestral DNA, that our modern diet is very short. It's 50 years, 60 years at best, bro, that our modern diet has been this way. And I think that we just aren't evolved to eat this kind of shit at all. We're not evolved. Our body isn't equipped to handle it,
bro.
And the fact that I've turned away from all this modernized, like subsidized stuff, essentially anything subsidized by the government, I don't partake in. Like I get my own eggs. I'm gonna start hunting. I like to point this out that I'm gonna be, he's out there Joe Roganing it, huh? 70 pounds. I pull that shit like nothing.
Piss full.
So not only am I preaching,
that's why I hang out with white boys, man, because
only half
when stuff hits the fan, they're the ones who's gonna be hunting for us.
Hackety.
They have all those arrows.
Real shit, friends.
Mexicans are gonna be cooking you the tacos, making your food taste good.
White people are hunting,
and you guys are hunting, bro.
Hey, man,
we got the seasoning. Y'all got the carne asada.
And I'm gonna be hunting and cooking because I am both white and Mexican. I think I'm Mexican. I'm some type of Mexican.
I just brought peace.
To the.
Hey, I'm with it, man.
Almost to the Middle East.
It's funny, man, because we were talking earlier about Karl Marx being this rich boy.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting around, just talking a little too much, and he would think a little too much on things.
He was an armchair philosopher.
No real world as experience. Many of us are.
Yeah.
Making all of these.
I got real world experience. Okay.
No, I mean, I do this in real life, man. If I'm at the store, if I'm at a barbecue, like, there's no chill with me. I just am who I am. I just talk about, you can catch me talking about this, real quick at the DMV.
You'll catch me trying to convince my ex-wife's mom to smoke weed, trying to get her to understand how good it is.
Hey,
I'll be doing that to everybody. I'll be talking to cops about it early. Damn, bro, you should probably smoke, man. Chill the fuck out.
That's funny, man, because at the same time, like, as we are these armchair philosophers, these what I call Facebook revolutionaries, I make fun of myself in that.
I don't go on Facebook, bro.
I go hard in the paint on Facebook.
Done with Facebook.
The thing about that is I make fun of myself a lot in that way because that's how people view it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you're just doing stuff on Facebook. But my whole concept behind that is I just speak to where people are, and all I'm here to do is to plant some type of semblance of truth, just to encourage you along the way. And whatever else is whatever else. I focus on what I do. And the problem is that a lot of us sometimes we expect people to want to themselves be interested in truth, and that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
For me, it was a life experience, being depressed, and then wanting to think deeper.
Is wanting to get out of an ugliness.
If that hasn't happened in someone's life, a lot of times they're not going to question. So no matter how hard I come, no matter how much truth I have, if they're not ready to receive it, then it's null and void a lot of times.
And I believe.
So you got to know your audience.
And that's why I believe.
That's my big problem, because I have no chill.
The ones that you're not talking about, I believe those are the ones that were raised by a father that does have our wisdom. So I think, like, that's why traditionally they want you to establish a career, be a little bit older by the time you have, be married to the woman you want to spend the rest of your life with. Right. Like, these ideas that are patriarchal constructs or whatever, like, they are important because they take into account the human nature, They take into account that, like, you're going to be a dumbass at a very young age for a while. For a very while. Some people don't stop being a dumbass.
Yeah.
But for society to, if we want to continue living in the world that we're living in, we need to adhere to these constructs. You know what I mean? For society to exist or to even get better, there has to be stable families. Because without a stable family, You have to rely on government to give off, to teach philosophy, to teach morality. It's the job of the father to teach morality. It's the job of the mother to teach all this sympathy and love and compassion, and the dad to teach hard work and shouldering burden and not crying about it. That's the job of the man.
See, when you talk about the betterment of society and learning from our past mistakes and whatnot, I'm very cynical when it comes to or very, what am I gonna say, pessimistic when it comes to the view of our future. I believe I'm one of those. I believe that society is on the verge of collapse.
Okay.
And all I'm doing is preparing myself mentally, if I make it through that, for what's to come, and to, if I do, to be some type of help to the next generation, because that's really all I can do at this point. If it gets to the point where we have to defend ourselves with guns, it's like I have to learn how to use a gun. I have to learn how to do a lot of things that I have my focus on, more than just trying to fit into the narrative that I've been fed, like you just described. There's way more reality to look into than just, am I going to be successful in business? You know what I mean?
No.
Not that I don't want to be successful in business.
It's not that.
No.
It's
But,
not that.
hold on though. Not that I don't want to be successful in business, because I do. Not that I don't want to make a lot of money, because I do. But to me, it's a bigger purpose. So right now in today's society, if you just have the motivation of, hey, I'm going to live a 70 to 80-year life, having a nice house and a wife, and just I'm gonna die and having a couple toys and going to family reunions and vacations, and that's the height of life. That is no longer
not what I'm talking about.
But that's kind of what we've been fed, right?
Well, that's what consumerism. That's what Mad Men.
No,
that's what the propaganda machine has fed us. But that's not what.
But what I'm saying is that is no longer a possibility. That we are at the verge of a collapse of society.
I agree that we are on the
verge. There's a vacuum
we are
of leadership. When you have dudes like Trump in the office, I'm sorry. Your time is up.
I don't agree.
There's a vacuum.
He's doing an amazing job.
Okay, but we're in the phase of oligarchy.
We're teetering.
In America.
He's devolving. What are you talking about?
We are in the phase of oligarchy in America.
We've been in oligarchy for the past 20 years. What are you talking about?
We still are even more, bro.
Yeah, but it's devolving.
Even more.
Why do you think I'm so excited about
the
Trump?
Next phase?
That's what I'm saying. I'm excited because the TPP, NAFTA,
we're done.
These things are... He's given us control back because he's taking away all these unnecessary taxes that don't, like the fucking Paris Climate Agreement would have costed American taxpayers $1 trillion a year. $1 trillion a year, a tax on carbon emissions. What are we getting from that?
So what about...
They're going to keep... Everything's going to keep going.
You're absolutely right.
So it's that paradigm. You have to look at it. Everything is period, right? It's periodical, and then you have to think methodical. You can't think literal. We agreed. You have to be able to decode.
No, I didn't say you can't think literal.
No, I think on every aspect you have to be able to decode, because if you think literal, then you think in absolutes. And if you think in absolutes, then you know everything.
No,
because we agreed that our minds have been changed so many times.
When you know something and it's true, you have to be absolute about it.
Is it a feeling or is it absolute? Have you seen everything? Have you studied up? Have you seen every Trump video? Have you watched all of his speeches?
On what I've studied up on, I have. I've studied up on everything.
I've studied up on everything, and I get excited. And I grew up in the ghetto. I voted for Bernie Sanders.
Listen, man.
I voted for Obama both terms.
When we all started researching the Illuminati, we all found out that the government was crap.
Now, I was all about Ron Paul, but
somehow along the way, I don't know how they convinced us.
You have to defeat the government from within.
To jump back into the government, the same one that we've already been put on game that was a lie and a ruse.
Yes.
Then it's weird to me, bro. All the people that I used to watch conspiracy, and the reason why I'm mad at Trump is that he took all the homies that I used to have deep conversations with about the Illuminati, because they all support the government now. Now it's the government's gonna fix this. The whole
That's because we understand what's going on. That's why. Man. Let me explain.
It's contradictory.
Give me
same people.
Everything in life is contradictory. There's always a dichotomy. There's never absolutes.
Are obsessed with what government is going to do. How does that correlate? How does that correlate?
All right. Now, you let me talk. All right. This is the way it works. You have to think deep, man. You can't think surface, and you can't think in absolutes, because there are variables in every aspect in every scenario. So we can't know for sure. All we can do is speculate on the facts given. And if you look at all the facts given, every law that he has abolished, everything that he has passed, it benefits me as an individual. Benefits me. I have to pay less taxes now. And if you look into the coal conspiracy, if you look into the coal conspiracy and what the Clintons did, shut down coal mining here. China took over coal mining for the rest of the world. Now they dominate. And we had like pretty much a zero emission from coal refineries because of our technology and because of how fucking strong the EPA was. And it still got shut down. And that's a huge hit to our economy. And if you look at the like fracking, apparently fracking is a lot safer. I don't know 100%. I've only heard of the scenarios where shit goes bad. Granted, we shouldn't be doing that. We already have electricity. Come on, you know.
But those are the things that Trump mainly supports.
That's because our economy was shit. Our dollar was worth nothing. There were countries that were dominating us. And if we're going to be considered the greatest country in the world, we need to be the greatest country in the world.
Then why Then why doesn't he start building up the infrastructure of the U.S. to make our own crude oil?
He brought. Do you understand?
Or to use our own crude oil. Where is the building of American infrastructure to use our own oil?
He's doing that.
No, he's not.
Well, I don't know if that wasn't a part of his campaign promise, but he did bring back a shit ton of jobs to America. Apple's coming back to America. Fucking GM Fiat's coming back to America. All these manufacturing jobs are coming back to America, where we create the vehicles with our hands. That means we create a product as a nation. We send it out as a nation. We make money as a nation. Instead of paying Mexico to build us fucking cars to send it to us, that means cars are gonna be cheaper. Steel. They're gonna fucking start using American steel again. That means shit more steel is gonna. That means Russia's gonna buy steel from us. China's gonna buy steel from us. It's all about exports. Exports. As what do you have to offer the world to be a major player? And the Democratic Party shut down all of our major fucking bargaining chips. And Trump brought everything back. He got rid of the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership, where we were getting charged something like 300% on tax on our goods. We were getting taxed unfairly against the world because we were the greatest nation.
So who's going to get the benefits of all the sales made on if we do it on
the corporations? The corporations.
Why not us though?
If you're an employee there, I'm sure you're gonna get the fucking benefits. Do you ever hear about those riggers?
I haven't heard.
You heard about riggers, right? They make a shit ton of money working for oil companies.
One talk about Trump building up the infrastructure to start producing our own oil here in the U.S.
You got to look at his campaigin speeches. You got to look. You look at it like there's.
I've heard about other industries.
What about Boeing? You seen Boeing? Where he's talking about giving funding to Boeing so they can create.
At this point, anyone that has been put into office that I have seen has always had the track record of being an Arab, especially that whole area of.
Well, yeah, that has to do a lot with the Bushes, senior and junior. That's why the wars were all about. Okay, everybody knows that.
Especially that whole area.
We don't agree with that shit.
Saudi Arabia. Okay. Kuwait and the other regions there, we've always had a sympathy towards them, period. And
so
I have not seen that change.
How are we going to wean off of oil? That's the real argument. That's the real conversation.
We're not going to, bro.
We have to.
Because what Trump isn't going to do, that's not what he's there for.
There has to be money.
He's going to set up some cool programs to get us more jobs and things like that. Yeah, that's not hard to do.
There has to be money in it.
Because at the same time,
why does Trump have to do it? Why don't we do it?
That's my whole point.
Why don't we do it?
That's my whole point. The more we talk about obsession with what the White House is doing, the less we have time to between ourselves.
We are the fucking true bosses of America.
Between ourselves to actually make change in our immediate communities, which is actually going to impact us here today in the now.
It's gonna grow.
What they want you is to be trusting in the pony show, the dog and pony show up there.
Trusting them.
And I thought I thought our generation had got this, but apparently
some of us gave
here
up,
comes
dude.
master propagandists to come take all those same people back that we could have been functioning
Russia,
together
Russia.
to go back into this weird thing when we're all supporting the freaking White House again. When the White House has proven to us that it's
everybody's fighting.
It's almost like America is now a failed state, bro. In a lot of ways,
It's a failed society, not a failed state.
well, the state is doing exactly what it intends to do. So in that case, it's not failing at all.
The society,
it's actually accomplishing its agenda fully.
Exactly. Society is the one that's failing.
But when you talk about a state for the people, or the original supposed intention of the Constitution, it's failing. So it's a failed state in that regard.
It's our fault.
So that's my point with that, man. He's not going to get rid of the Federal Reserve currency system. He's not going to do it. I haven't heard one hint about it. I haven't heard one hint about us producing our own oil, because the moment he does,
let's talk
you're going to have Saudi Arabian snipers
let's talk
chilling like, oh yeah, you're going to get your own oil? You're gonna destroy our family of years of empire?
Okay.
Hell no.
All right, have a thought. Let's talk logistics, okay? So Trump is talking huge on strengthening our military. That's his like number one thing. Get the best shit. Pay the most money for the best shit. Because everybody, like when I was in the military, everybody knew military got the lowest bid. They paid for the lowest bidder.
Right.
Whoever fucking offered the smallest fucking bid, that's where they got their equipment. So if they get funding for top-notch gear and make our military superior, and then we decide maybe it's an 8-year plan where then he decentralizes and then gets off of the federal, all that fucking shit. Maybe it's a slow progression.
Check this
out. Maybe
out.
he's playing chess. Maybe he really is playing that weird 4D
Check this out, bro. Because Mexicans are the majority around here in the Inland Empire and around a lot of Southern California, and we're the fastest growing population in the U.S. I think all of us should get together and form one mind and disassociate ourselves. And whoever wants to join us of any race, creed, ethnicity, to detach from the federal government, then that's what we'll do. And the reason why I say us is because we're
starting a militia.
we are the fastest growing population. We have one of the biggest voice. And guess what? Not to be racist whatsoever.
You're trying to create fucking.
But the grandchildren of plantation owners are way too stuck in the paradigm of the left and the right, conservative democracy bullcrap, to reform their mindsets, so that we need to actually fight for our what they took from our people. We need to take hold of the resources. That's the thing, though.
We conquered. We won.
What?
It sucks for you, dog. We all played the game.
It don't matter.
We won.
Well, then that's my point. That's why I'm trying to play
as
the
democracy
species game. Then, as a majority, to detach from that.
What about survival as a whole?
Dude, we have all the growers and
what if it's
all the people, the field workers that you can need in Mexicans.
Maybe that's important for society, for there to be oppressor, because maybe there is no evolution without oppression. There is no. We don't evolve in comfort ever. Nothing evolves in comfort.
Yeah.
Evolution only occurs when you're being attacked.
It cycles, bro. It cycles.
I think we just have to be patient as a species. We're gonna get there. We just have to go through a few more cycles.
We're not gonna get there because you know why? We're the problem. That's why we're
gonna evolve. Why? Because we're philosophizing.
No. Not you and I in particular.
Oh.
You and I as a species.
Okay.
What's wrong with planet Earth?
We have testosterone.
No. What's wrong with planet Earth?
Nothing's wrong with planet Earth.
It has human beings on it.
We can be symbiotic.
The only way that there will be peace on planet Earth is if you get rid of those chimpanzees with genes, which is us, you and I, apes,
unevolved, bro.
Unevolved.
I'm evolved. I got a different strain of DNA, though.
You and I are the problem.
I got that different strain of DNA. My muscles look small
honestly,
now.
bro, that's the damn truth. If I never said anything else, let me say this. That humanity is the problem. We are the cancer, and
but we are
also the solution to this is that we all get eradicated. That's why I believe.
No.
That's why I believe. Listen,
it's so pessimistic. We are also the solution.
It's reality.
No, we're also the solution.
After forming a utopia,
what did I tell you about the dichotomy?
After forming a utopia, give it some however many years. That ugly corruption, which is in our heart. This is my main point of my rant here. It's gonna come out. But that's why the diagnosis isn't, this or that. It's in the human heart. Now, what we fight for is temporary relief, which I believe in. I believe fighting against tyranny. I believe fighting for temporary relief, at least for me or the generations directly after me, that of my progeny and my family around me. I think
See, I
that makes
don't.
sense.
I believe in struggle, and I believe in prospering through struggle. I don't want my kids to be comfortable.
So you don't want to fight against tyranny and
I
oppression.
from what I that is the point though. That's the purpose. That the dichotomy I explained earlier was the yin and yang. Essentially, there is evil and good, and there is good and evil. There is a cycle. It moves, and it's just we have to just go through the cycles of these evolution. It's evolutionary, dude. We will evolve past this. The fact that we're having this conversation now and 50 years ago, this conversation was probably a lot more racist.
It
You know
still
what I'm
is,
saying?
bro.
In some spaces,
I
but
don't like specs.
my in my experience as a human on this planet, all of my being jumped and beat up was from Mexicans.
Because you deserved it, bro. Look at you walking around in our hood. Who does this guy think he is?
That's exactly
walking
the
around in
vibe
our
I
street,
get when I go
thinking
around
he's not gonna
Mexicans.
get jumped.
Yeah, I
Bro,
go
it's
around
a
Mexicans.
must, bro. You
That's
come in
the
my
vibe
hood.
I get. That's
We're
why
gonna
I
jump you,
like
bro.
every time I'm walking
That's just
around,
the
I always
reality,
look hard
bro.
as fuck. I'm always dogging fools and I always look like I got a gun or something.
That's why, bro. We don't like your kind, bro.
They don't like the hybrids, the beautiful green-eyed, fucking handsome conquistador, ancestral motherfucker. That's why I don't like me because I'm conquistador. That's what it is. I got that Spain
You
dick.
remind us of our ancient oppressors.
Yeah, those are ancient oppressors. Dude, they're ruthless. Dude, they were fucking chopping dudes arms off to see how sharp their swords were.
Yeah.
Just fucking raping women, dude. And it was normal. It was okay. They were revered for it. That shows you the cycle. Like in Vietnam, they put ears on their dog tags, right? Today is something you would be ostracized. You would be demonized on a public platform if you did some shit like that.
Pancho Villa, the story goes, is that he would go to towns and recruit people for the militia, and if you didn't want to join, he would chop your ear off, just as a sign so people can know that
So
you
you're
were
a coward.
I don't know if that's true. My dad told me that when I was little, but
I wouldn't doubt it, man.
you know,
A lot of that's the thing with cults and movements and like extreme ideologies. That's why I like that's the same with Christianity. That's the same thing with liberalism. That's the same thing with hardcore conservatism. That's the same thing with like racism. Like the idea that your skin color will dictate your superiority. No, bitch. It's your fucking IQ. It's the only thing that separates us from everything else on this planet is our fucking brain. Our ability to fucking conceive, to be conscious, to think, to be in fear of our lives, to fear for other people's lives. That's why we're great. No other species, well, dolphins maybe whales, but they're like aliens in a whole other world, so it doesn't matter. You know, I think it's just a cultural evolution, man. We're going through a cycle of cultural evolution, and in 50 years, they're going to be talking about, I don't know. I don't even know. It's if shit doesn't hit the fan now, and it continues on a positive path, 50 years from now, shit's going to be so soft, so soft.
No,
this is going to be a very rude show.
Gonna go back. The pendulum is gonna swing back ultimately conservative.
And then it's going to be too conservative. And then what's going to happen? The next generation is going to rebel against extremism, and then they're going to become extreme liberals.
Yeah.
It's a cycle, and then through this cycle, this swinging pendulums,
you're right.
We get that good medium, and people like me and you, we're the good mediums.
But that's why I believe in the last days, son, because there's a time halt to these cycles. I believe there's when they reach their epitome, it's called exponential growth.
I think it's a really long time though. I think it's going to be a very long time from now.
Who knows? Maybe. And you're probably right. Maybe it's going to be thousands of years from now.
Yeah, because
this
our imagination dictates our potential.
But see, while I live, my idea is I'm gonna live. I'm gonna die standing, so I don't. I'm gonna live standing, so I don't have to die on my knees. You know what I mean? I'm trying to say it how Emiliano Zapata said it. I want to live a life standing, so that way I don't have.
You want to live a life worth standing for.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Not live a life on your, not have a life worth living on your knees.
Right. That's
why I hate welfare, dude.
I find truth to life, man. Is to fight for truth, to fight for what's right, and I think in a lot of ways that's what's taken out of our men that fight to be warriors.
Yeah.
To
To prove ourselves, to fucking showboat, to show our greatest potential.
Not to
I think
just
each individual has a grain of fucking greatness in them.
I think God, I think that's the checks and balances. You know, as evil as the world is, God also raises up men that see truth and that also fight for change, so that the cycle continues and that the human race and the history continues as He intends for it to. So, you know, that's where I side. That's why I read the writings of the ancient prophets, because I relate to them in their struggle. Same thing with the different revolutionaries that have existed, even the more recent ones like Malcolm X and so on. I listen to what these men say and how they thought and what they fought for, and they're very necessary. Even though they're few and far between, they're necessary. So I think that we need a generation of men that are more able to fight for what's right, to fight in a true war.
To be brave enough
to be brave,
fight.
because look at it like this:
often
if you're a brave
cowardice
man nowadays, what are you fighting for? And
exactly.
what war are you fighting?
What is your
what
life
is worthy of fighting? I mean, if let's just say
what's
if you're a Marine,
what's worth dying for?
Let's just say
a Marine in the country's worth dying for.
Yeah,
us Americans.
If you're in the Marines or in the Army right now, what are you fighting for? What is your real cause? Because you're not fighting for the American people any longer. You're actually fighting to defend the cause of oligarchs now.
Well,
we said.
that might that might be factual, but you gotta take into account the individual paradigm.
But what
so
I'm
the
saying
individual
is that,
might believe that.
What I'm saying is today the American male does not have something worth fighting for.
I think that's
not that there isn't something worth fighting for.
I think that's changing a lot with us men. Now, remember I brought that up earlier, that I think my generation of men are the generation of going to be the fathers that start stepping up, that's going to change the paradigm of families again, back into the traditional sense where the fathers are. Even if, like with me, I have 2 baby moms, and I'm in both of my children's lives. And now I currently,
you've been busy,
and now I currently get along with both of them. Like I just talked to her for the first time after 8 months, and now we're getting along. So like, I'm trying to create this scenario where I'm showing them that my existence and my being there in their lives and making choices and decisions and teaching them and disciplining them and being an actual father, not a fucking person that pays a bill to the government. So that I hate the idea of fucking child support. I like it for the deadbeats that want to run away. They need to pay child support, but people like me, I don't agree with that. I feel like if my kids need something,
I think that's more of a private matter.
It is. I think it should be across the board, because if you want equality, that's what equality is.
I think I mean I want to teach this to my friends to not get marriage licenses, or to at least
don't get married. The government doesn't have anything to do with it.
Exactly, but yeah, man, it's been good, bro. It's been good, man. Kind of got to head going in here in a little.
Oh yeah, we've been an hour 20. That was a good conversation, dude.
Yeah.
We gotta do it again sometime.
Sure.
All right. So. Peace out. Hey, subscribe. Do me a favor, subscribe and share it. There's one person watching, but future people, subscribe and share. I'd appreciate that shit. All right then, peace.